enough.
Yeah. Now that we've made Hollywood feel pretty bad about themselves, we are going to talk about Barbiecore, which I can't believe I can even say with a straight face. Plastic fantastic. Barbiecore is the fashion movement turning hyper-femininity on its head. Mary, would you like to lead this discussion?
Of course.
As the purveyor of fashion and death here at this podcast.
I only think about fashion and death.
Our patron saint of fashion and death.
Yes.
So I don't know if you guys are familiar with millennial pink. It's that dusty rose shade that millennials love.
A lot of architectural magazines are like, please stop using this.
I bought a shirt that Nick kept calling salmon that was literally listed as dusty
pink.
Dusty rose.
Dusty rose.
Yep. It really pissed
That's
you
how
off.
you know that Brett is a millennial. He couldn't help it. He had to buy a millennial pink shirt.
Yeah, so
It's
if you
not
look for
pink,
the Gen Z analog, it is this hot pink Barbie magenta that we're seeing. It's on Valentino runways, it's on Anne Hathaway, and I think most notably the set for the Barbie movie coming next year.
That photo is going to be iconic of her in the car.
Oh, yeah.
That photo will go down in history.
It already is.
I really do believe, like, you don't see something like that very often, like a photo that's going to end up being that iconic. It will.
And I actually was really surprised at the casting. And then the fact that the filming ended only recently and people were already hyping it up so much and people are really excited to see it next year. It's part of this Barbiecore trend. And I think it started maybe on TikTok with Bimbocore. It's a little bit different, but has the same aesthetic. It's more based on asserting that, I guess, hyper feminine women can still be intellectuals. They can still be informed on current events and on social issues without being book smart or without going out of their way to prove themselves to men.
Sorry to quote Chet Hanks, we can all read books.
We can all read books.
So
we
what's
just don't all
like a
understand them.
Barbiecore outfit? Like I have an idea of what this is, but for our listeners who I assume have no idea what we're talking about.
Well, they highly emphasized the hot pink power suit. I hate power dressing. That's like from the 70s. It's very second wave feminism and like women coming into the workforce. I hate everything about the 70s aesthetic, but that especially.
I mean, Nicki Minaj was doing this a couple of years ago.
Oh
right?
yeah, and they credited her a lot with this. Like,
well, like Katy Perry has vague Barbie aesthetics. It's just not all pink too.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, she's kind of veered away from that, but I think Nicki Minaj has always had this. Like, she calls her fans the Barbs. It's like very prevalent in
but
her
it's like pink,
aesthetic.
it's like sparkly,
Yeah.
it's like
Dopamine dressing.
Yeah, dopamine dressing. It's a term that they mentioned in this article that it was embraced by Gen Z and millennials after the lockdowns.
Where you were wearing muted tones, apparently.
Like, I mean, I don't know where that came from. I hate when people
citation
coin,
needed.
I hate when, people, like academics, try to coin terms or phrases desperately and it just doesn't stick. That's one of them. Mm-hmm. But they're saying that this is an attempt to uplift ourselves through dressing in an over-the-top, an extremely hyper-feminine way.
But not for the male gaze.
They say it's about subverting societal expectations and reclaiming stereotypes of femininity.
It's nothing like jumping on a trend to subvert societal expectations.
Well, I just think it's awfully convenient when you're able to subvert societal expectations and the male gaze by being more attractive to men.
Yes. Also, I want to ask who
being ugly wasn't working for them.
Is this
Let's
a
ask
happy
Matt Gaetz.
coincidence, huh?
I also want to know who they're reclaiming it from. Who are they reclaiming it from?
The male gaze.
The male gaze that they're literally trying
and
to...
by that I mean the male homosexuals in the fashion world. No, but like unironically, that is where femininity has gone in the fashion world. Like, I wish that there was a return to maybe the Dior new look, that when we actually had feminine silhouettes still. But this is just, I think, a way that
The thing is, you
people
can't have
are
a silhouette if you're not wearing clothes.
Also,
right?
yeah.
I want to point out, like, is this also like I looked at the example they had of Zendaya, where she's wearing it's like a frumpy. It looks like it's supposed to be like an intentionally frumpy power suit in bright pink. And I remember there was a thing recently of Justin, like it's like a trend of guys dressing like they found their dad's suit in a closet and put it on.
Well, they look like Roblox characters.
Yes.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
That's high on the list of awful.
Hate
like
it,
along
yeah.
with like I'm also not a fan of the loose like faded blue jeans.
Is there
either.
like any Gen Z trendy aesthetic that you do like right now?
No, there's not. Well, I
If
don't
frosted tips come back,
Millennial.
Then
You know what
let's-
I'm saying?
that'll be the day.
like the loose blue jeans. I can't stand.
I
it.
felt like frosted tips kind of came back a little bit during
Did they?
COVID, just because everyone was on the internet doing nothing.
Did you
and
see them?
Yeah, I used to see people. There's like a cap that you can get. Women get it, and you like basically it's got holes in it, and you use a crochet hook to like pull it. And I used to see men
I
do it
saw
all.
that.
I used to see men do it all the time, and they would like bleach the ends of their hair. And it's like,
So,
you guys don't understand. We already were here. We've already done this.
given Barbie's 1950s heritage and the rise of Barbiecore is also about fashion's obsession with nostalgia, something that has become especially pertinent this year thanks to the resurgence of Y2K styles we've seen this season. It's a key factor for a demographic who lived through those times and are currently seeking solace in that familiarity. I do believe that a lot of like I hate the idea that they're intellectualizing fashion so much. Like,
Well, what do you think that the academic institutions exist
know.
for, other than to call things deep that aren't that deep?
Says-
I mean, and when you go out, anyone knows, like, it doesn't look like anybody puts that much thought into what they're wearing.
you had that article. It said like Megan Fox is hot. It's not that deep or something.
Yeah,
like
and
that.
it really isn't. And I wish that, women's sex appeal didn't have to be boiled down to some desperate attempt at empowerment.
Does it feel like
I just hate that anytime women do anything, the feminist movement is like, because of feminism. That's us.
okay?
Like,
Yeah.
you're dressing in baggy clothes, it's feminism. Cover up
Crediting
from male
it
gaze. Well,
all
you're dressing
to-
really skimpy, it's feminism. I just feel like this movement is not good. I mean, I'm pretty anti-feminist, but I think that trying to co-opt femininity now is like the latest in a long line of attempts to say that anything women do that's positive is ultimately attributed to this movement that's had no like true teeth in American culture other than to harm it.
Well, you can claim that it's linked, but you can't prove it, and then you can't disprove what they're saying
Exactly.
either. It's, yeah. But to pull it back to the Greta Gerwig movie, which I'm looking forward to, they're expecting it to be some kind of deep societal commentary on, like, how that doll has modeled femininity or what that means for women. And
Conveniently forgetting that they hated Barbie for decades.
well, yeah, and
Well, now they've changed.
they
Barbie
forced the company to basically bend the knee and create diversity, equity, and inclusion dolls.
now. Yep.
that
Who
are
doesn't
like-
love dye dolls?
Who, like, I'm sorry, but let's be real for a second. Do little girls want to play with a doll that's in a wheelchair? I don't think so.
American Girl Dolls used to sell a wheelchair one.
Well, I mean,
and she
isn't
used to
the
have
I mean,
masks
that's a
and
little
stuff.
bit different because you're supposed to customize an American Girl doll to be like you.
Well, isn't the idea that the
But Barbie was always just Barbie.
It's the Laverne Cox Barbie that gets me. They were like, we have our
Yeah.
first trans Barbie, and I'd be like, why are you doing this? They're
Yeah.
like, because we're very welcoming and interested in all people.
And if we're going to start intellectualizing this trend, this fashion trend, I'll say it's not what they're saying it is. It's not some kind of feminist stance. It's really women wanting to appear hyper feminine in an age where actually being feminine, not
Is
just
looked down
appearing
upon.
that way, but being that, is looked down upon.
So
The thing
you're-
is, like, I think Barbie has been popular among a lot of like trad pro feminine commentators for a long time. I mean, like, there's a YouTuber, she Mrs. Midwest or whatever, and she's got the long blonde hair and the big eyes, and like, that's how she naturally looks. But like, the idea of being hyper feminine has been around for a long time. But when you make it hot pink and you make it, well, this is for feminism, then they're okay with it.
Yeah. It does feel like there's like this constant battle back and forth between, like, they know that men are going to like women dressed in alluring attire that is bright pink and hyper feminine, so they have to intellectualize their way around doing it so that they, because God forbid the guys enjoy it.
It's like you can only be sexually appealing or feminine on their terms. So
it's why
if you happen to attract men in the process, as that's like a footnote, you can only do it for yourself, and it's just like it doesn't actually hold up.
It's why they don't like comic books that are written by men with attractive female characters, because it's the fact that a guy drew it, right? They don't have a problem with women being attractive. They have a problem with men liking and being the ones that drew the woman as attractive in the comic.
I also think there's like a warped version of what like hyper femininity is in this case. Like they're really relying on this hot pink argument, but I would argue that if you were to show someone who was wearing a different color, but it was very delicate, a traditional silhouette, floor length, whatever, they would be like, oh, well, that's not really the same thing. It's that it has this marker where it becomes obvious. Like they need it to be so simplified to figure out what they're doing.
Well,
they
another
can only
thing,
figure it out if it's hot pink.
Yeah, and another thing they're highlighting here is that there have been so many Barbies that like are examples of different professions for little girls, and now you're taking that to the grown-up world.
Firefighter Barbie.
Yeah, like, I mean,
CEO Barbie. Girl boss Barbie.
The firefighter Barbie was cool because she came with
is that a real thing?
Right? I'm pretty sure.
I was making that up.
No way.
Okay.
Look, she's had a long storied career.
Long and illustrious
The thing
career,
is, though, feminists hated Barbie for decades because of her body proportions. This gives little girls unrealistic expectations of their bodies. That's not what real women look like. And they hated it until they're like, anyways, it's a pushback against the patriarchy, which I just can't stand that.
You know, there's a male equivalent to this in which there's a porn star named Johnny Sins who's done like 10 gazillion movies, and they talk about how he's a national hero, and they post like clips of him when he was like, he played a firefighter, and he played a cop, and he played a lawyer, and it's like
he's done it all.
Yeah, and they're like don't say that you support American heroes if you don't support this legend, and it's like all him from very clearly fake scenarios. It's very, very funny.
What this looks like to me is more extended adolescence.
Yep.
It's a dress-up game. Like, if you interpret your own life and your career goals as like trying to imitate a fictional character, a doll that you played with, that's extended adolescence.
They talk about they had for Barbie, they had an Inspiring Woman series with dolls of Maya Angelou, Rosa Parks, and Jane Goodall. No! How old are you when you play with Barbies?
6.
No 6-year-olds like, I want a Jane Goodall doll. None. Not
They're like, who is Rosa Parks?
They don't know yet. Like, it's not their job to know.
But it's clearly
yet.
for older women.
Yeah, it's only for moms who played with, who grew up in this anti-Barbie era, but kind of secretly wanted a Barbie. And so now they buy their 4-year-old the Ruth Bader Ginsburg Barbie, and they're like, look, she loves it. I'm so happy to give her a feminist icon. Like,
and if anything, I think American Girl dolls have done a much better job
of
empowering little girls, if that's what we really want to do.
Also being age appropriate.
Yeah, and being age appropriate. They have girls that are their age in different historical periods with real stories, and like their whole lore and
that are researched, that are
well researched, and actually teaches girls about history too. And Barbie is just like here's Barbie in a wheelchair. Like, I don't know.
Barbie's a flight attendant. Like,
Barbie is a personality, Farrah said. Women are starting their own businesses. They're ditching the boring black suits at work. They want to have it their way. And they want a girl boss, but they don't want to have to wear what the guys wear to work.
Girls are not ditching the boring black suits at work because of empowerment. They're ditching it because fashion changed. Like, they're not in style. The 80s power suit is not stylish anymore.
Is it like, I want to see the guy equivalent to this article where they're like, guys are ditching the 3-button suit at work and they're switching to 2. Like, that's...
No, because we don't care what you do. Only women.
Also, most people don't look to the internet for how they're going to dress. It's just a fact.
I think it's like the facial. Like I think we need an opposite for when men try to be included in conversation and women are like, get out of here. You don't even know what we're talking about.
We think the same way when you guys want to get involved in our discussions about sports. And, no, I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah, to be honest, I think these days it's...
they call it the try-hard girl, the one who's like,
there are more women trying to intrude upon men's hobbies and spaces and conversations than the other way around.
No dude is like, let me into your makeup channel. I want into your makeup channel.
One of my favorite examples of this is there's a dating podcast where one of the hosts was saying, you know, if you want to meet someone, you're looking for like a long-term relationship, don't pretend to be into flag football if you are actually not. If you are, fine, go sign up for flag football and meet a man there. But if you go to camping and you hate camping just to meet a man, that man likes camping. So he's going to want to go camping. He's going to want to watch the baseball game. Men don't do this. There's no man who's just like hanging around Sephora being like, hey girl, like I also love skincare. Do you want to talk about that over coffee maybe? Like men don't behave this way. Only women do this.
But
so
I think it's
sense.
also because women are... They have this inferiority complex because they've been
Feminism.
taught not
See, that's
to
what I think this is. Like, I
act
think
like
in
women.
some ways, just being like, I want to wear pink and I want to dress feminine.
It's
like,
about the fatigue of like just being. Women are browbeaten too. By
also
this
women.
whole
I'm like, this is
system.
like something I had a lot of
absolutely.
communication professors talk about this. Like, women have to justify everything they do, and so it can't just be like, I'm wearing this because I like it. It has to be like, well, ultimately, it's a commentary
social
on
commentary.
society.
You're like, I want to settle down and have kids. They're like, why would you want to do that?
Because I hate
you could be a mid-level executive at this company.
Or they have to do this tedious explanation of it. It's like, well, you're actually turning the expectations upside down because it's your choice, queen.
They have to logic their way around it just to explain it to their friends.
Not because you just, find it beautiful to spend a lot of time with your babies.
Yep.
I don't know.
I mean, is this all come back to feminism and the constant push for them to, it's like, we can't, where women aren't working, we need to put them in the workforce. Women can't.
We have to double the workforce.
We can't, women don't play sports. We need to get them involved in sports. Many of them love it.
Don't like sports.
That's
Also, like, how many women back in the day could quilt? And now we're like, everyone needs to play t-ball and no one can quilt anymore.
Dude, women have no skills that they used to have, and
All, like,
it's happened to men too.
Yeah.
Because we all have to be the same, but then we lost everything.
Yep. The guys are like, I can't do anything that a guy could normally do, and then the girl's like, that's okay, I can't do it. Actually, she wouldn't. She'd be like, why can't you do that?
Guys are like, I know nothing about cars, and women are like, I know nothing about cooking.
Let's try and figure this out.
What do we do?
And then we get the word adulting, which I also hate.
I hate that word. I hate that word. All right, final thoughts on Barbiecore, ladies.
I just hope that the Greta Gerwig movie isn't trying to be a social commentary. Please. I just want it to be funny and aesthetically pleasing. That's all I want.
Make it a horror film.
I'm already happy with the casting of Barbie and Ken.
Yeah,
to be
it's
honest.
great.
Like,
It's so good.
I have high hopes.
Did you see the clip? Did I ever send you the clip of like the guy coming up and slapping Margot? Guy comes up and like they caught like an on-set shot where a guy comes up behind Barbie and slaps her on the butt, and she turns around kind of like haphazardly and slaps him like almost on accident, and the guy falls over, and like just imagine that guy's like, I got hired to slap Margot Robbie's butt, and he's just like, I need one more take. I didn't feel
like that was my best one.
I definitely could have gotten more of the cheek on the slap. Let's take.
Did you also audition for this role?
I did.
A lot of people are gonna hyper analyze that movie, but
the articles are gonna be hilarious.
I hope that
I think
as
we
a
should do an
standalone project, it'll be good.
anti-analysis where we just the whole time we're like, that was so pretty. I love it. Did you see her hair?
Yeah, that's what I want it to be.
Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.